Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Saturday morning, time for a Sales Logic. I'm hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. And hey, we got a great show because it's very timely because of something that's going on in Switzerland right now. The topic we're going to be talking about today is the changing role of the sales professional. And we're going to be talking about this little event that happens in Davos every year in Switzerland. So I think that's going to be cool. We got an interesting question that came in from, I didn't even know she listened to the show. But anyway, we got a great book, great lightning round. I think it's going to be a fun show. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and dive in.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Mark, I'm going to tell everybody how the show works, and then
Sure.
you can get us rocking and rolling. Every week we come to you for about 25, 30 minutes, and we are lucky to have an engaged audience. We kick off every week with a question from you. So if you want to get involved, you want to get active in Sales Logic, go to saleslogicpodcast.com. And our website is refreshed, brand new. So take a look at that as well. We've got a hot topic. We recommend a book. And because we want you to get return on investment, you leave with a lightning round. All right, let's rock and roll.
Hey, the topic we're talking about is the changing role of the sales professional. Let me read the question, and then I'm going to share with you, an idea. We got to do our show live from Davos next year.
Yeah,
Okay?
I would. Let's go to the World Economic Forum.
We've got to make that happen. Anyway, hey, the question comes from this listener, Mayor. I believe that's you. Yes, I love it.
I've got the question this week.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I've been glued this week to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. So much talk around the forget it.
Juxtaposition.
Juxtaposition. Thank you. Not enough coffee this morning. Of the slowing economy and the continued lack of labor participation. The result, companies are turning to AI, looking to solve their future labor issues with technology. How will this impact sales professionals? Before you jump in, I got to share with you something, because I really thought coming into Davos this year, the hot topic was going to be crypto, because of the whole collapse of the crypto market last year, Sam, all of the issues. And it's amazing how ChatGPT just emerged and became the top issue at Davos all week. AI. Yeah. So jump in. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought this was so interesting. Like I said, and yes, thanks, Dave. I am in Kissimmee, Florida, today, getting ready to speak to a dental conference. But like many of you, I was just really fascinated that there was so much talk around the economy and everything in Davos. But the one thing that is throwing everybody off is that labor participation is still down. And so businesses, CEOs are doing what they do, and they're saying, forget it. We're tired of trying to solve this problem, raise wages, do all this. We're going to really start to solve our own problems with technology. So there's going to be a lot more self-serve. There's going to be a lot more robots, a lot more of those types of things. And I think this is going to have dramatic impact on the sales professional. But the impact it's going to have is we are going to become more valuable than we have ever become before. Because the one thing, and every IT person will admit it, the one thing that IT really can't do, even though they're fooling around with it, is really think its way through a problem. Just yesterday I checked in here to the Marriott, and they put me through, obviously, a chat box at the beginning. And I needed something that was a tiny bit out of the box. She must have asked me 6 times. She said, "I don't understand. Could you phrase that differently?" Which is obviously what's been programmed in. And it was so frustrating because she couldn't think. So I think more than anything, we are going to have to become incredible listeners and incredible problem solvers and really working at a higher level.
But you know what? This brings up some interesting point. Our toleration, societal tolerance of chatbots. I mean, go back 40 or 50. You came out of the finance industry. You came out of banking. And go back to the early days of the ATM. Oh, the ATM. Why would anybody use an ATM? And there was a lot of pushback on that. Then it became very well accepted. And today it's hey, do banks even need brick and mortar branches? So in other words, technology continues to evolve, and we're going to see this. But you are right. Salespeople, the role of salespeople is never going to be diminished because there's as much de-education and correct information that we're going to be called on to be able to give. Because like you got caught in that loop. We've all been caught in that loop. Anybody who has made an airline reservation, anybody who has had, it is amazing at how when you go online, not when you go online, but you try to, even when you go online, you get caught up into these loops. So I think, and this is what I found fascinating at Davos, listening to some of the interviews, it's going to be an easy guess to try to think that AI is going to solve these problems. It's not. This is going to be a long and twisting road. Remember a few years ago when the self-driving automobile was going to be the thing within a couple of years. It's amazing how that conversation has just died completely. Not hearing nearly as much of it. So these are going to be ebbs and flows all along the way. I love what Lee Salz is talking about. I've been unwinding technology with clients. Too much technology in the sales process, and you lose the personalization, which is reigned today's sites is the key to success. You're right. More than ever, we have to be personalizing what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think I love Lee is such a sales guru, and you make such a great point there. Is that we have to be strategic with technology. I mean, I keep thinking about these CEOs in Davos just saying they're tired of the labor participation, the down numbers. They're just going to solve it with technology. You can't do that. Mark, how you want to use technology in the sales process and how I want to use it in the sales process will be very different. And that is where the salesperson has to figure that out. Where do you want personalization, and where do you want ease of things? When I check into I was staying at a Four Seasons in Baltimore last week. And to tell you the truth, there was too much personalization involved in the sales process. It was 1:30 a.m. I'd had flights delay like crazy. I had an 8 a.m. Sound check. All I wanted to do was get to my room. A self check-in would have been much better for me, but they're trying to create this amazing experience. Speaking of technology, you cannot program the sales process. It can't be, this is the way we do it, and it's one way for every person we're engaging with.
See, that comes back to really reading and understanding, because that personalization would probably have looked different at 6 o'clock in the evening. But any traveler who's coming in at 1:30 a.m., and I remember you had texted me that you were even concerned as to whether or not you're going to make it there on time.
Yeah.
And it takes on a completely different, and we have to be able to adapt to that. And see, that's really what personalization is all about. Understanding the customer. Where's the customer's at? Where are they at right then? And how do I adapt it? And it's not one plan, because otherwise all you're doing is really making personalization almost like a chat bot. Wow.
Yeah.
This is the process we go through. No, not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, Brad makes such a great point here. Digital transformation, including Chat, GPT, and hundreds others, are not threats to salespeople. Done right, they make the sales process better. Brad, this is really the crux of the show, right? I mean, you need to, you've hit the nail on the head. You've got to figure out the technology, because the one thing technology does not do is is customer facing, really. It's solving problems that the customer already has rather than anticipating the challenges, the problems, and the opportunities that the customer needs. And that's where I distinguish salespeople from technology. I'm going to use technology to make life easier for both my customer and, quite frankly, for me. I mean, this whole chat piece where it'll start to write content for you is amazing, right? But at the end of the day, most of technology is more reactive. There's some predicting in it, but that's really the value of me, is listening and reading between the lines and figuring out where the customer needs to go. But the more I can do that, the more time I can do that, the more I can grow sales and use technology and other sales ops to service the other pieces.
So spot on with that. And if we think about chat and where we're at today, this is no different than search engines when they came on the scene, what, about 1995, 1998? I mean, it really is the same thing. Wow, it's amazing. I can go to the internet and I can find out all this information. This is just the next generation. But you have to be able, like you said, you have to be able to personalize it and understand it, because the chat is still a long ways, just as the same thing. You can sit there and I don't dare say that person's name because it's going to activate. But you know that thing that starts with the letter S that you say, hey, or A, and you activate things in your home. And what happens is but it's programmed to your historical reference. Same thing with ChatGPT. There is still a tremendous amount of room, and there always will be room. Google did not replace salespeople.
Yeah.
ChatGPT will not replace salespeople.
Yeah, I love this. Dave Sanderson said he was with an SVP of finance last week that still had a BlackBerry. Well, Dave, I didn't know BlackBerries still worked, and he wanted to simplify, see only messages and security. I mean, there is some value in simplifying what is preventing you from staying customer facing. But my thing with IT is, so much of what sometimes the customer just needs speed and they need ease. Like, I think about technology for the fact that it will let me do things at 11 o'clock at night. One of my biggest problems with the healthcare industry is that still, to make a doctor's appointment, most of you have to do it by phone. And you get in that massive game of phone tag. I have to do it between 8 and 5, which are my billing hours. And the beautiful thing about technology is that it allows customers to do business when they want to do business and in a way that is easy for them.
Okay, now let's flip that around, because technology with healthcare also allows that you can do all the check-in and do all that paperwork online before you get to the doctor's office. So, I mean, to a certain degree, technology also works on the other end. I agree on that whole thing that you got to physically call them, and you get in this loop, and it goes round and round. But now let's back up the bus here for a little bit, and let's think about technology and the changing role of salespeople. Here's the whole situation. We run the risk, and I talked about this the other day in a video I did, that the customer is trying to educate themselves because of all this chat bot out there and all this sort of stuff. And our role, and I really believe firmly in this, our role is going to be to de-educate the customer, because they've allowed themselves to become victims of all this knowledge that doesn't work for them. So our role, de-educate and ask more questions. I mean, if you were to sum up what's the changing role, those are the two things that we got to be delving in. Plus, there's a whole lot more, but anyway, we'll get into that here.
So, Mark, do you mean in helping the customer understand what technology is right for them?
Yes. Well, and it's not just technology. What is technology telling them? Because here's the whole thing. You can do a Google search, and we see all the studies that the customer doesn't enter into the sales conversation until they're 65% of the way through the buying process. We've seen that study years and years, because they have all this information and they don't want to deal with salespeople. They want to take care of it. But what do they wind up doing? They wind up potentially making decisions that are not right for them. They wind up buying the wrong thing. And the role of the salesperson still is to help the customer see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. And many times they don't understand that. when they're playing this whole technology game, the whole chatbot. So our role, we have to be knowledgeable on all this. We have to be knowledgeable on this, but we have to be able to create that personalization to be able to de-educate the customer, and that's going to be a challenge.
I love what Lee says here. During each step of the process, ask yourself what provides meaning, value to the buyer. Had they done that, I wouldn't have had that late night experience. That's exactly right, Lee. I think another piece that's really I don't know. I'm curious if our audience has had this, if our audience has had this as well, but but pretty much people are telling me that I don't want a salesperson in my office unless they are coming in with a purpose and an agenda. I do a lot of work in the manufacturing space, and a lot of manufacturing reps used to drop by, used to come by and see people and engage with people. You can't do that anymore because technology, even if it doesn't make you more efficient, it has given this perception of efficiency. I mean, who doesn't love the fact that you can get up in your jammies and do a Zoom call rather than drive across town, sit in somebody's office, right? I mean, what used to take 2 hours now can be done in probably 40 minutes. And customers have become very mindful of that. So I think as salespeople, one thing that technology is changing is we have to be more organized, we have to be more intentional, and we really need to respect the time of the person that we're talking with.
And that means we got to do a much better job of information gathering before we engage. Right. That drop by, just what was the whole purpose of the drop by? The drop by was to try to find some information out. Okay, guess what? The internet's out there. All these tools are out there, and ChatGPT and Jasper and all these others, they're coming on the scene very rapidly, allowing us to have access to information because the customer's saying, hey, I'm busy too. I don't want to spend my time having to educate you. If you can't come in here already educated, I don't want to have that conversation with you. Now, how do we overcome that? It's because we've done our homework and we're coming in and we're putting in front of them questions that get them thinking, that get them going beyond where their mindset is at right now. And that's a hurdle we got to jump, which also means as salespeople, we're going to be having conversations with different people. You brought this up on the show a couple of weeks ago. Now's the time to be having a conversation with the CEO. Yeah. We've got to go much further up the food chain than we've ever gone before. We've got to develop more relationships than ever. Why? Because if we're not, we're going to get cut out of the picture.
Yeah, I think the important question that we need to be asking ourselves as salespeople is what I'm presenting in this sales call, could the person that I'm talking to, could my prospect or customer do this without me? And if they can do it without you, guess what? You're not bringing any value to that conversation. If they could do it online, if they could do it via mobile, if they could even do it with a phone call, why are they giving their precious time to you? And the reason we need to ask ourselves that question as salespeople is because, believe me, especially if you are selling to the C-suite, they are asking themselves. I love what Keith here said. I find myself needing to explain tech in lay person's terms, no fancy terminology. Absolutely. The simple, the better. You better be explaining your product that way too. This is no time to show off that you have a bigger vocabulary than your customer.
You are spot on that. And I'll tell you what, we get into problems when we start talking over the heads of our customers. I love what John says here. John Register, love having you with us today. We should not allow ChatGPT to get us in a scarcity mindset like taxi and Uber or Airbnb and hotels. But I've been playing around with it and had to write a case study on why John Register is the best keynote speaker for the insert industry. And it wrote it. Wow. Think about that. Now, see, this is what's cool.
Wait a second. You got to get that last line. He says now
I'm using parts of that to position myself to that industry. See, I love it because John is using technology to his advantage. See, there's nothing wrong with that. That is allowing John to be a better salesperson, to be able to sell him into that industry. That's using it right. See, this is, we cannot have the mindset that technology, whatever form it comes in, is a risk to us. We have to embrace it and use it because it simply is going to help us open up more doors. I'm excited for the opportunity. Think about the show that we're doing right now. Would Sales Logic have been possible 10 years ago? No, no, it really would not have been. But the format, the tools, and the way we do that, it works today. And that's a benefit to us and to the listening audience. That's powerful. That's using technology. Don't run from it. Embrace it.
Yeah, I think that I love the point that Brad makes here with doctors, and I think the crux of this show is that as salespeople, we need to realize that that technology is going to change our role, is going to actually enhance it, but we need to be getting on board with technology. Right now, we need to be thinking about ways to integrate it into the sales process and think about ways that it can truly help our customers and be in front of it. You know, years ago, a lot of years ago, I heard an expert get on stage and talk about LinkedIn long before any of us were using LinkedIn. And somebody from the audience got up, raised their hand and said, I think this sounds like a waste of time. And I'll never forget what the speaker said. He said, it is a complete waste of your time right now. He said, I can't think of a single piece of value that this is going to bring to you other than the fact 4 to 5 years from now, this is going to be the premier social media spot for anybody doing business. And if you try to get involved 4 to 5 years from now, you're going to be so far behind, you will never catch up. And that's stuck in my mind. We have to be willing right now to be inefficient to be 10 times as efficient in the future. And as Mark said, really be that expert with the customer and help them figure out what technology is right for them, what technology is not, and then how we can personalize the process.
And don't think the experts have all the answers. Bill Gates, many years ago, made the comment that he didn't really see the need for everybody to have a personal computer. There were several lines that and I wish I had time to research it. I should ask Chat GBT. And he said several things regarding technology and the internet and so forth, and totally wrong. So don't think for a moment that the experts are necessarily going to lead the way. It's up to us ourselves to be able to find the way that's going to work for us. And this is the key thing about technology. What technology works for Mayor may not work for me. What technology works for me may not work for Mayor. You have to embrace what works for you. But go back to Dave Sanderson's comment way early in the show where he talked about he was with the SVP that still had a BlackBerry. You got to be kidding me. Now, that's archaic, okay? That is, the 90s are calling. They're asking for their BlackBerry back.
Yeah. Guy, such a great point, that technology is just revolutionizing the delivery of nutrition, but you found that it's a challenge to keep the main thing. So key, right? For us, it's what is adding value and benefit to that person, whether it's nutrition, whether it's healthcare, whether it's whatever. But how do we almost become the gatekeepers of that technology? But the thing that I love about this high-tech crazy world, and at the end of the day, when I need a problem solved and I need it solved fast, the quicker I can engage with an individual, the happier I am. It is still a people business, still an emotional business.
I totally agree there. And you still come back to this whole piece. What is the benefit of technology to us? It is to allow us to be able to reach and engage. And the role of the salesperson in the future, believe me, our role is absolutely secure. But here's the key thing regarding technology. Be careful of the shiny object. It's very easy for us to sit there and run off and spend hours and hours and hours on Let me go explore with Chat GBT or any other AI thing. You got to be careful because, again, you still got a job to do. You got to make it happen.
Yeah. I love that John is trying to figure out how Chat GBT can impact the call centers or people looking for advice. I don't know about you, but the chat boxes that I love the most will let me try twice and then say, let me connect you to a person. I am so grateful for the intelligence behind that doesn't leave me swimming out there with a chat box trying to answer things. Mark, I know we are burning towards the end of our show, so where are we headed next?
Hey, we're headed to a book. But before you do that, hey, why don't you jump out to saleslogicpodcast.com, because we've got all the books that we've ever talked about listed there. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for reading material, looking for content, because these are the books we recommend, we bring to you, our listening audience. So jump out to saleslogicpodcast.com and you'll see that book section there. Hey, today's book, and I've not read this, so guess what? I'm adding it to my list. Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan. Talk to us about it, Mayor.
Yeah, so I just finished reading this book, and I'm sure many of you out there have read it, but I thought it was a good fit, given that what we're really talking about today is productivity, efficiency, best delivery methods. And the idea behind, famous idea behind Dan Sullivan is that we shouldn't be asking ourselves, how are we going to get more accomplished? How can we do something? But instead ask ourselves, who could we be working with? Who else on our team could be doing that? And who else on our team could be doing that could definitely be technology. It doesn't need to be us. What is the highest and best use of our time as salespeople? And then who else on our team, whether it be technology or a physical human being or some form of outsourcing, could pick up those pieces.
I love that. I'm going to read that book. I just got done with The One Thing. I'll tell you what, great book. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it.
Yeah, I have. I read it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and absolutely great, because I felt it was a great bookend to Deep Work, which was the book I read before. Anyway, hey, lightning round. Are you ready?
I am.
Top 10 sales skills sales professionals need to remain relevant. Go.
Oh, I'm going to say number one, they've got to have emotional intelligence, and your EQ cannot be high enough.
2, expand your network. You got to be going further up the food chain.
Yeah, they've got to be master listeners, not waiting for their turn to talk, but being able to really read between the lines and read the body language.
You have to be spending at least 30 minutes a day in deep form reading. Deep form reading, that means you're reading books, not just posts, not just stuff online, but you're reading books at least 30 minutes a day.
Yeah, I think that they've got to be strategic. I mean, they've got to be thinking through strategically how they can add value to a company, how they can get in front of a customer.
Stay in your lane. This is not the time to go wiggle. This is not the time to go chase and try to boil the ocean. Stay in your lane. Stay focused.
Yeah, I think that salespeople going forward and to stay relevant are going to need to build the skill of influence. Are you somebody that people follow? Are you somebody that people look to? Are you somebody that people come to for advice?
And you have to always be willing to be held accountable to other people. Have somebody outside of your selling space that you can be bouncing ideas off of and you can be learning from. Once you share one more, I'll share one more. We'll close it down.
Yeah, I think that salespeople to remain relevant are going to need to increase their activity and be selling from a place of power rather than a place of need. Selling for the long term rather than the short term gain.
Be careful of who you hang out with. Your mom was always right. Be careful of the friends you choose. Jim Rohn said you become the sum of the 5 people you associate with. That's why we love this audience, Sales Logic Podcast, because these are incredibly intelligent, gifted people. We love interacting with you. You've got to find your community and hang out with them. And with that, we want to say, hey, thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, hey, consider telling a friend, because it's really how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
Absolutely. And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
And remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
Hey, this has been another great show, hasn't it?
It has become another great show. So join us right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern. We've got another great topic, another great question from the audience. Until then, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, download some of the old episodes, leave a review, close a bunch of deals this week, and we'll see you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern.